Hello and welcome to Cracking the Cryptic. Now today a bit of an unusual one. I had quite a moment yesterday. This is going to sound like bragging, I can't really help that, but I solved the Times crossword in 2 minutes 54 seconds. Now that's almost my fastest ever time, by which I mean I once did it, I believe, in 2 minutes 35 on paper. I believe, I say, because some people have said that's barely credible to be able to finish a puzzle in that time. And that was a complete outlier. My other best times have been just about a second under 1 minute, which I've done both on, under 3 minutes, sorry, which I've done both on paper and on the electronic means. And it's an interesting question about whether online solving is quicker. You do have letters put in for you already, and you can jump to clues, and typing for some people is quicker than writing. I think for me it's about the same, but hard to be sure. But anyway, Simon thought it would be interesting if I went through why this puzzle was amenable to a really fast solve. And I just thought I'd look at some of the clues and explain what I was thinking, and then at the end of the video I'll play what was not my actual solve because I wasn't recording it, but what is a solve that was the same order of answers at that speed. So I do stress it wasn't my actual solve that I'll be playing, but it was an equivalent filling in of the grid. I started with one across, cycle on the side of a drop, and court disaster. Now court disaster has to be the real definition, so I was given the phrase enumeration 4314. I was immediately thinking ride, and then surely there's a phrase about courting disaster. And I thought, yeah, it is ride for a fall. I'm not certain it sounds right, but I put it in and moved on. And I decided this time, I don't always, but I decided this time to immediately use the letters that I'd got in one across for the downs. One down says stage right Oscar to play guitar. I've got the R to begin, so it looks like the wordplay begins with right. Oscar can be the letter O, and to play guitar can be strum, so immediately that's rostrum, and that means stage. Now jumping on to two down, I've got a D at the start, and it's a phrase, 4325. Please understand, term gent now misused when feeding dogs. So there's some anagram fodder and dog, and it looked to me immediately as though please understand was the definition. And actually what I first thought of was don't get it wrong, but I didn't think that was a phrase, and I was just about moving on to the next clue, and I realized that don't get me wrong is a phrase and felt like it had the right anagram letters in it. So I went back and immediately filled that in, kept going on the downs, 3 down, concentrate, I've got the F, it looks like focus. Yes, the word plays all there, following OCUS. 4 down, begins with an R, 6-2, betrayed the trust of, lecture, and even as I'm reading lecture after treat misinterpreted, I'm thinking about betrayed the trust of. Treat misinterpreted guides that to an anagram of treat, beginning with R, and ratted on was very quick. Plant in bogland across river. Well, a bogland can be a fen, so I immediately got fern. And it was at that point, I think, that I realized this was going incredibly fast. And I do sometimes, especially on Mondays when some of the easier crosswords appear, put in a conscious decision to really just go for a good time here. 6 down was very straightforward as well. Again, it's a phrase and an apparent meaning of that phrase: fail to win compassion, become disillusioned, lose heart. And then I jumped to the acrosses because I now had lots of letters. So 9 across, S blank N blank C, and there's a hedgehog in the clue, that's Sonic. Even though my average time for solving a clue in this puzzle must have been around 6 seconds to read it, solve it, and write it in, that one would have been one of the quick ones. 10 across, fully discuss. Well, it's got to be thrash out. I sort of read the rest of the clue. By the time I got to 11, I can see that the only word that's probably going to fit in the grid is register, and list is in the clue. I've kind of noted organ stop, but I don't know all the names of organ stops. It's gone in. I'm not wasting any time. 12 across. Now, what is interesting is up to this point, I really barely paused once on Don't Get Me Wrong, which I'd had the wrong thought on for a moment. But this is about as fast as I can go apart from that. Now, in fact, during the solve, there were moments when I wasn't quite as quick as I'd planned, as I'd hoped to be, astonishingly. And that kind of helps me reassert that 2:35 is at least possible. You know, one day, if I get really lucky with a puzzle, I feel it might come in under 2.5 minutes. But 12 across, appear in an excited state after parade. Well, in an excited state looked after up, but it did take me quite a few seconds to think of show up as a synonym for appear. And parade as a show certainly wasn't instant, but was confirming. Then I jumped to 13 across, poisonous liquid in alcohol. I've got M, T, and O. I'm not convinced I know methanol as a word. I think I do. But methadone is another addictive substance. I threw in methanol and hoped it would be right. I didn't really read the rest of the clue, to be honest. I was prepared to go back and change it to methadol. Although, how would I ever do that? I'm not sure, because I think just as I went along, I convinced myself methanol is the answer. I don't even know what the wordplay is now. Taken by him at the end. Oh, I see. Alcohol is ethanol with M. Oh, well, I'd even taken the definition to be poisonous liquid in alcohol. So a bit lucky there, to be fair. Now then I had a look at 15 across. I just had the A, watchword of Guy painting in retirement. I thought, I don't know, password, no, slogan, they're the kinds of watchword I think of immediately. Couldn't think of it. And now I jump to the downs. With 7 down, it's an interesting shaped phrase, 3-5, 6, and I've got the O and W. What may be a comfort to one who's just retired, so I'm immediately thinking someone in bed, hot water bottle. Simple enough. 8 down, more work. And I've got the T and the P. Now, the clue's quite amusing there in that it's a work by Thomas More, Utopia. Now, I've seen that a few times before. Anytime Utopia gets defined, there is a temptation for a compiler to use this more pun. So I've seen that before, and that really helped get that quickly. So now, with all the letters in place for mantra, I could solve that. What was the clue there? Guy painting in retirement. And I kind of worked all that out, man and art backwards, to make sure. Then I had a look at 17 across and couldn't get that. So 18 across, I could see female is likely to be F, and with the T and the R changed, must be altered. Sat on the fence, I'm not sure that's how I'd define faulted, but it was close enough, so I put it in. And then I changed to the downs. I think I had a look at 19 down. Housekeeper died, ravens flying about. Well, a clear anagram, and I do know Mrs. Danvers from Du Maurier's Rebecca, so that was quite straightforward. I think I jumped to 17 down. I got very lucky here. Picture which involves work, 3-3. I've kind of seen that which involves work before, which is that around op, which gives us top hat. I think I've even clued the phrase that way before when I've been compiling, so that probably helped, but that was one of the, certainly, I had no letters when I put it in, and I just looked at that clue, saw that it was top hat, deduced that, which I wouldn't have been sure of, that top hat itself is a film and therefore a picture, and put it in. And that really helped. That was a massive step forward. So 17 across, T something E. I'd had a look at this before. In goal blocking shot. That's quite hard because in is the definition. But I could see suddenly goal might be end, and then I could see trendy. Shot must be try, and the definition is in for trendy. So I was quite pleased to get that. Moved on to 20 across, standards concerning rector, parson. And then 21 across, rank reduced, so resign. I had the letters ON at the end, so it looked like something down. The only phrase I could think was step down. I wasn't sure that a rank was a step, but I put it in. Again, I'm prepared to change step to something else if the downs don't work. I had, actually, what I didn't mention is I had a look at 14 down earlier when I just had the A, group of stars with capital attorney, and I'd immediately known that from crosswords I know a constellation that's 9 letters beginning with A, but I couldn't remember what it was. So I made a very fast decision, again, speed being the essence, to just leave it and wait till I'd got some checking letters, and that indeed made it very easy as the last entry in the end for me. And I have heard of it before, just couldn't think of it from just the A. So I think at this point then, 16 down, leader of revolt. I know that the Peasants' Revolt was led by Wat Tyler, so I'm just looking at the letters there and sticking it in immediately. I think I clocked the measure of power as Wat and didn't read the rest of the clue. 22 down, fear of God. That's a bit lucky. Panic. Panic is obviously fear, and I had the P, so that was very straightforward in a way. But why of God? And I think it's because panic can be an adjective from the god Pan, or possibly that a god can also be called a panic or a panisk. But I mean, I kind of have come across that before. Again, very confident without knowing exactly why. And then I think I'll start off my solve here. I was, just so you can see as I talk for the remainder of the time about it. And the last ones that I then had to do, I think because of where we were at the time, I jumped onto the last down clue with no letters. Clubs, male companion, M, ace, mace, that's a club. In it goes. Again, that would have been very quick. And then I had the last 3 acrosses to do at this point. 24, musical. Wow, Annie Hall fits. Didn't really think about the rest of it. 25, gunpowder ingredient. Well, it's a crossword staple, this word niter. So in that goes. And 26 across. So I had everything but the A as checking letters. Not necessarily the most helpful checking letters in the world, but useful. Out of harm's way, insane criminals. So I'm thinking criminals is the definition. And insane, oh yeah, it could be crackers fitting in there. And of course, the only kind of crackers who are criminals, I think, are safe crackers. So that was fairly straightforward. And then I was back to 14 down, which group of stars. Doesn't really matter what the wordplay is. I did look at it in passing and put in Andromeda. So that was the order and the thinking of solving it. I was, as I say, deliberately after a little while going for as fast a time as I could. I didn't know what time I'd done. I sort of didn't give myself any time to look at the clock as it was going. So I just hit the submit button to see what time showed up. And interestingly, I don't really know if it's a great time or just a good time. You know, I know I've gone fairly fast, but I wouldn't be amazed to see 4 minutes, 15 seconds show up, which is still obviously a pretty good time, but something I might do once a week. So when the time came up as 2:54, I was really quite surprised. And especially as I say, looking back, there were quite a few that I'd paused on or even moved on from, tried once and come back. Don't get me wrong, show up, mantra, trendy, step down. I was a bit lucky in that some I put in with uncertainty, like step down, were right and were proved by the checking letters in due course. So that went very well for me, and it doesn't always. But there was certainly some time that could have been saved. And it'll be interesting to see if, you know, maybe one day I'll get a bit luckier. But I mean, I guess it's taken me 15 years to record another time that was more than a second under 3 minutes. And that's how many times crosswords? Probably about 3,000, probably more. It's a lot of them. What's 15 then times 52 times 6? I don't know, 300 times 15. 4,500 crosswords probably. And to come up with a time of 2:54 again. It's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But just thought you might be interested to hear about that and watch a version of the solve. As I say, that wasn't my actual recorded solve. So thanks very much for watching, and certainly hope to see you again on Cracking the Cryptic. Just coming to the end of the solve. Okay, bye for now.